Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the AEW Dynamite review. Dynamite tonight was from the Cable Dahmer Arena in Independence, Missouri, and this was Title Tuesday on Dynamite tonight. And Dynamite was on tonight on Tuesday because of the MLB playoffs taking place. So Dynamite went head-to-head with NXT tonight. But Dynamite tonight, it was a good show. Really enjoyed Dynamite tonight. We had two title changes, which I will get to. But the first hour of Dynamite was commercial free for 30 minutes. So we have Bryan Danielson versus Swerve Strickland. We have Powerhouse Will Hobbs versus Chris Jericho. The AEW International Championship was on the line, where Fenix defended the title against Orange Cassidy. And we also had Wardlow versus Matt Sydal. Wardlow ended up returning last week on Dynamite. We had Jay White versus Hangman and Page. We had the AEW Women's World Championship on the line, where Saraya defended the title against Hikaru Shida. And in the main event, we had Adam Copeland making his AEW in-ring debut. He ended up taking on Luchasaurus. But overall, Dynamite tonight, very good show it was. Really enjoyed it. But let's jump right into the review. Now, I did not know that they did a buy-in tonight. They only had one match on the buy-in, and it was Eddie Kingston versus Minoru Suzuki for the Ring of Honor World Championship and the Strong Openweight Championship. So Eddie Kingston ended up beating Minoru Suzuki to retain both the Ring of Honor World Championship and the New Japan Strong Openweight Championship. So, at the end, it was announced by Tony Khan that Jon Moxley has not been medically cleared to compete for the International Championship. So, it led to the arrival of Orange Cassidy and Hook, leading to Orange Cassidy receiving a shot at the International Championship instead, because it was originally supposed to be Moxley versus Fenix for the International Championship, but due to Moxley not being medically cleared, Orange Cassidy ended up taking Moxley's spot. But there you go. That was the only match that was on the buy-in. Eddie Kingston versus Minoru Suzuki for both the Ring of Honor World Championship and New Japan Strong Openweight Championship. And then Dynamite Title Tuesday opened up tonight with Christian Cage, the TNT champion. He was in the production truck, and Christian Cage was given words of caution to Swerve Strickland and Bryan Danielson ahead of their match, which to determine the number one contender to face Christian for the TNT Championship this Saturday on Collision. So then Christian turned his attention to Adam Copeland. He ended up warning Copeland of what's ahead. And Christian ended up saying that he's going to elaborate on why he told off Copeland last week. Christian then called himself the face of Warner Discovery. And he ended up welcoming the fans to Dynamite. He ended up taking credit for the first 30 minutes of Dynamite being commercial free. And then he ended up telling the people in the production truck to start the show proper. So that was basically that. Christian Cage opened the show in the production truck, giving words to both Swerve Strickland and Bryan Danielson on who wins and who will face him this Saturday on Collision. So, and then, with Christian Cage turns his attention to Adam Copeland, without a doubt, this is going to be leading to a big matchup between Copeland and Christian Cage at some point. And then we went to the first match of the night. Bryan Danielson versus Swerve Strickland. This was a number one contenders match to determine who will face Christian Cage for the TNT Championship this Saturday on Collision. And this was a very good matchup here. Very physical match between Bryan and Swerve here. Both guys worked really well. The wrestling here from both guys were great here. So we have Bryan Danielson end up making his way out first. And then Swerve Strickland ended up making his way out. He was accompanied by Prince Nana. Of course, Prince Nana doing his dance, which everyone loves when Prince Nana does his little dance when he comes out there. So the match ended up starting with both Bryan and Swerve locking up. Swerve ended up trying to overpower Bryan, but Bryan ended up taking Swerve down to the canvas. Swerve started to get control of the match, but Bryan ended up monkey flipping out of a hold, and both Bryan and Swerve stared each other down. So Swerve and Bryan were trading holds. Swerve ended up getting Bryan on the ropes, and he ended up smacking Bryan. Swerve ended up flipping out of a monkey flip, and he tripped up Bryan, and he ended up going for the cover, to which Bryan ended up kicking out. So both Swerve and Bryan were trading package pin attempts. They ended up locking up again. Swerve ended up getting Bryan on the ropes, ended up striking Bryan in his ribs. Bryan countered a suplex from Swerve and landed on the apron. Swerve got on the apron. He ended up taking a big boot from Bryan. So both guys ended up trading chops on the apron. Bryan ended up targeting Swerve's wrist, to which Swerve ended up sending Bryan into the ring post. Swerve ended up slamming Bryan on the apron, which that had to hurt. You know, the ring apron, of course, is the hardest part of the ring. So Swerve ended up dominating on Bryan. He ended up going for the cover, to which Bryan ended up kicking out. Swerve ended up sending Bryan into the post. Swerve then ended up hitting the Oklahoma Slam, and Swerve then ended up hitting the Brainbuster to Bryan. Swerve ended up getting both knees on Bryan's chest, and he ended up going for the cover, to which Bryan ended up kicking out. Swerve then locked in a cross-face chicken wing, and Bryan Danielson ended up fighting out of that. Swerve then blocked the kick from Bryan and countered with a back suplex backbreaker to Bryan. Swerve then climbed to the top rope. Bryan got his knees up and he blocked a 450 splash. Swerve then retreated to ringside. So Bryan ended up delivering a running knee strike from the apron to the floor to Swerve. So Bryan then ended up climbing the rope. He ended up hitting a diving missile drop kick to Swerve. Both Swerve and Bryan were down at this point. Bryan then recovered and delivered a series of kicks to Swerve. Bryan then ended up hitting a roundhouse to Swerve's head, to which he ended up going for the cover, and Swerve ended up kicking out. Bryan then cornered Swerve and started chopping away at him. Swerve then ended up fighting out. He ended up hitting a huge kick to Bryan's gut. Bryan then retreated from the ring. He then dodged a tope from Swerve. Swerve then blocked the dive from Bryan with a forearm to his face. Swerve then hanged Bryan from the turnbuckle. He then delivered a huge swerve stomp onto the apron to Bryan, to which Bryan ended up crumpling down to the floor. So we went back into the ring. Swerve ended up going for a diving double stomp, but Bryan countered with a single leg crab on Swerve. Bryan then transitioned that into a heel hook, to which Swerve ended up getting to the ropes to break up the heel hook. Bryan then climbed to the top rope, and Bryan countered a superplex from Swerve because Swerve ended up blocking an attempt from Bryan on the top rope. So Bryan then ended up hitting an avalanche back suplex to Swerve. So Bryan then ended up beginning to kick Swerve's head in. Swerve began to recover, and Bryan ended up putting Swerve back down with a series of knees. Bryan then transitioned into a label lock, and then he transitioned to an armbar, but Swerve ended up getting to the ropes. So at the end of the match, Prince Nana distracted the ref, and Swerve ended up grabbing Prince Nana's crown. He was looking to use the crown on Bryan, but Hangman Page showed up at ringside. He pulled the crown away from Swerve, and Bryan ended up countering the JML driver from Swerve, and he ended up going for the cover, to which Swerve ended up kicking out. And then Bryan ended up hitting the Busaiku knee to Swerve. He ended up going for the cover, and there you go. Bryan Danielson ended up winning the match. So he will face Christian Cage for the TNT Championship this Saturday on Collision. But overall, very good match it was between Bryan and Swerve here. Very physical match. The wrestling here from both guys were good, and they just both delivered in the match. And then we had Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe ended up saying that he will be on AEW Collision Saturday and will show fans why he deserves to be champion. He was focused and determined to take what he believes is his. So, very good, little promo from Samoa Joe there. And then we had Chris Jericho versus Powerhouse Will Hobbs. Of course, Powerhouse Hobbs is part of the Don Callis family. So Chris Jericho made his way out first. The crowd sang along to Judas as Jericho, the Ocho, got into the ring. And then Powerhouse Will Hobbs ended up making his way out. He was accompanied by Don Callis. So the match got underway, which it was a decent match. So match ended up starting with Jericho ended up charging Hobbs in the corner. Hobbs quickly overpowered on Jericho. So we had Hobbs end up delivering a spinebuster to Jericho, to which he ended up going for the cover, to which Jericho kicked out. Hobbs then ended up hitting another spinebuster to Jericho, and then hit yet another spinebuster. Hobbs then delivered a huge headbutt to Jericho, and then he was battering Jericho with some forearms. He ended up hitting another spinebuster to Jericho. So Hobbs then delivered some knees to Jericho's midsection. Hobbs then choked Jericho with his boot. Don Callis was trash-talking Jericho throughout the match, to which the crowd was booing Don Callis. Don Callis has good heat from the crowd there. So Hobbs then ended up hitting another spinebuster to Jericho. Jericho tried to fight back. He failed to get Hobbs off his feet. Hobbs then threw Jericho into the corner. Jericho then dodged a splash from Hobbs, and then he hit the codebreaker to Hobbs. Jericho ended up going for the cover, to which Hobbs ended up kicking out. Hobbs went back to punching on Jericho, and he delivered another spinebuster to Jericho. So Hobbs started choking Jericho. He ended up going for an Oklahoma Stampede, but Jericho ended up countering. Jericho then locked in the walls on Hobbs. Hobbs fought out, and Hobbs delivered a World's Strongest Slam to Jericho. He ended up going for the cover, to which Jericho ended up kicking out. Hobbs then ended up hitting another World's Strongest Slam, and we had Hobbs end up going for the cover, and there you go. Powerhouse Will Hobbs ended up winning the match. But post-match, Hobbs and Don Callis end up celebrating, and Hobbs end up bringing Jericho up, and yet delivered another slam to Jericho. Pretty much that was basically that. Overall, decent match this was. Powerhouse Will Hobbs needed this win. Jericho is putting over talent here. He put over Hobbs. But this is going to do good for Hobbs, being in the Don Callis family. I mean, Hobbs has been in other stables before, but, he didn't get that push that he so rightfully deserves when he was with those groups. Now that he's in the Don Callis family, hopefully they start giving Hobbs a push, because this is a guy who definitely deserves it. He definitely deserves a big push. So let's hope so. So then we saw Roderick Strong, the Kingdom, and Adam Cole. This was at Roderick Strong's house. Roderick Strong, Adam! He still needed help from Adam Cole. So Roderick Strong ended up making Adam Cole mow his lawn. So Adam Cole ended up mowing all of Roderick Strong's lawn. And, after Adam Cole ended up mowing Strong's lawn, he was like, oh, I gotta go change my shirt. I'm all sweaty. So Roderick was like, oh, we got a shirt here. So Adam Cole was forced to wear a neck Strong shirt. So Adam Cole, he was like, oh, what's with the giraffe? It's the giraffe that we saw last week. And this giraffe that Roderick, was taking neck Strong inspiration from. To which they end up saying, oh, this is the giraffe that we got Roderick when he was in the hospital. So Adam Cole was like, oh, where's TV? Where's the internet? So Cole was like, oh, it's weird that Strong has no internet or TV. To which Roderick Strong called TV the devil. So Adam Cole was like, oh, I gotta go. I gotta go get my surgery. So then Roderick Strong was like, oh, Adam, I need just one more thing from you. So pretty much that was that. So Roderick Strong is trying to keep Adam Cole away from MJF. Roderick wants Adam Cole to spend more time with him and, the Kingdom, Matt Taven and Mike Bennett. That was that. And then we had Rey Fenix versus Orange Cassidy. This was for the International Championship. And, Orange Cassidy was put in this because Jon Moxley was not medically cleared to compete. And this was a good match here between these guys. Orange Cassidy made his way out first. And then, Rey Fenix made his way out. He was accompanied by Alex Abrahantes. And the match got underway. Both guys ended up starting off trading strikes with each other. And they were going back and forth. Fenix ended up hitting a series of lariats to Orange Cassidy. Fenix ended up trying to go for a German suplex to Cassidy, but Fenix's back ended up giving out. Fenix then ended up hitting a rope run kick to Orange Cassidy. He ended up going for the cover, to which Cassidy ended up kicking out. And then Fenix delivered a super kick to Cassidy. Fenix then climbed to the top rope, and he delivered the frog splash to Orange Cassidy. So Fenix ended up going for the cover, to which Orange Cassidy ended up kicking out. Fenix then ended up going for another cover, and Orange Cassidy ended up kicking out again. Fenix then ended up lifting Cassidy onto his shoulders, but Cassidy ended up escaping. Cassidy ended up sending Fenix out of the ring. And we had Cassidy ended up sending Fenix into the barricade twice. So both guys ended up coming back towards the ring. Cassidy rolled into the ring to break the count. He ended up sending Fenix back into the ring. Fenix then ended up delivering a baseball slide to Cassidy. Cassidy caught Fenix's leg and flipped him on the apron. Fenix then retreated back into the ring. Cassidy climbed to the top rope, and Fenix ended up stopping Cassidy, to which Fenix ended up going for a muscle buster to Cassidy, but Fenix's back once again ended up giving out. Cassidy then ended up hitting a diving DDT to Fenix, and then he hit a tilt-a-whirl DDT. So Cassidy ended up going for the cover, and Fenix ended up kicking out. Fenix ended up countering the orange punch from Cassidy, and he delivered a super kick. Cassidy took advantage of a slip-up. He ended up hitting the beach break to Fenix, and then Cassidy ended up going for the cover, and Fenix kicked out. Cassidy then ended up hitting the orange punch to Fenix. So we had Orange Cassidy end up going for the cover. And there you go. Orange Cassidy ended up winning the match. And Orange Cassidy is now a 2-time international champion. So we had confetti end up raining down on Orange Cassidy, and Hook, Chuck Taylor, Trent, and Rocky Romero end up meeting Orange Cassidy out there to celebrate with him in the ring. So that was basically that. But overall, very good match this was between Fenix and Orange Cassidy here. Even though it was originally supposed to be Moxley versus Fenix, but still, Orange Cassidy and Fenix delivered. And Tony Khan ended up putting the title back on his golden boy. So once again, we're going to be seeing Orange Cassidy open up Dynamite every single week again. So then we went to RJ City. RJ City was backstage interviewing Tony Storm, timeless Tony Storm. And it was in black and white. So Tony Storm ended up saying to RJ City that she is going to introduce her silent film called Lovers Lamont. And it played through the picture-in-picture, but people probably saw it in full on Fight TV. So pretty much, that was basically that. So we just saw it playing during the picture-in-picture on TBS. But really, I'm liking this new gimmick change for Tony Storm. Like I said last week, it's absolutely great. Throwback to, the 30s and 40s, woman during that time, being like Marilyn Monroe. And then we had Wardlow versus Matt Sydal. Nothing for me to go over here because it was just a squash match. Wardlow ended up winning the match. 4 powerbombs to Matt Sydal. And then after the match, Wardlow just made his way through the crowd and walked off. That was that. Another good old Wardlow squash match. Just to build his momentum back up. And then we saw Renee Paquette. Renee Paquette was backstage. She was checking in on Chris Jericho. Danny Garcia ended up showing up to check on Jericho as well, which was admonished by Matt Menard. So pretty much that was that. And then we had Hangman Adam Page versus Switchblade Jay White. Good match this was. Hangman Adam Page ended up making his way out to the ring. And then out came Jay White. Jay White still has the AEW World Championship that he stole from MJF last week. And he was accompanied by Bullet Club Gold, the Guns, Austin Colton, and Rock Hard, Juice Robinson. And also a cardboard cutout of Jay White. And they were riding tricycles to the ring. So the match got underway. Jay White ended up telling, Austin Colton and Juice Robinson to hang around. And he ended up telling Jay White that the World Championship is never going to be his again. And then Jay White slapped Hangman Page across the face. Jay White then left the ring to refocus. He ended up entering back in. He ended up blocking up with Page. He ended up slapping Page and escaping. And Page ended up diving onto Jay White on the outside. Page started arguing with also Austin Colton and Juice Robinson. And he ended up going after Jay White. And then Dynamite went to commercial. Then when Dynamite came back from the commercial, Jay White was in control of the match. He was trying to choke out Page. Page ended up finding out, and both guys started trading strikes to each other. Jay White ended up hitting the Dragon Screw to Page. So Paige ended up fighting back, started chopping away at Jay White. Paige ended up pinning a Death Valley driver to Jay White. So Paige then ended up going for a fallaway slam. He then ended up pinning a run shooting star press on Jay White, to which he ended up going for the cover, to which Jay White ended up kicking out. Jay White then retreated from the ring. Paige ended up missing a plancha, which he ended up landing on his knee, which Paige ended up powering through, and Paige ended up hitting a pop-up powerbomb on the apron to Jay White. So we had Paige end up hitting a pop-up style powerbomb to Jay White, to which he ended up going for the cover, and Jay White ended up kicking out. Jay White ended up fighting out of a Deadeye attempt from Paige. We had Jay White continue to attack Paige's knee, and then he ended up hitting an exploder suplex to Paige into the corner. So both guys ended up fighting to the apron. Jay White ended up hitting a knee breaker on the apron to Paige, which that had to hurt, because Paige was just favoring his knee. So Dynamite went to commercial. Then when Dynamite came back from the commercial, both guys were fighting on the top rope. Paige ended up hitting a moonsault fallaway slam from the top rope to Jay White, which injured Paige's knee again. Paige pulled down his knee pad. Jay White ended up going for Paige's eyes, and Paige continued to assault Jay White's leg. Jay White ended up hitting a Uranagi to Paige, to which he ended up going for the cover, to which Paige ended up kicking out. So at the end of the match, we had the referee was fighting with Bullet Club Gold. Prince Nana snuck down to ringside. Paige ended up stopping Prince Nana from using the crown, but Jay White rolled Paige up. So there you go. Jay White ended up winning the match. So overall, it was a good match here between Jay White and Hangman and Paige here. But post-match, we had Paige run up the ramp to chase Prince Nana. Bullet Club Gold celebrated with Jay White in the ring. And then MJF came out. MJF got on the mic. He ended up telling Jay White that he's got his match for Full Gear, demanding that Jay White returns the Triple B, meaning the World Championship. So Jay White responded by mocking MJF, saying that no one wants to hear him, and that they want to hear J-A-Y. The crowd ended up booing at Jay White, and Jay started to ask if he should give the title back. So the crowd was taunting to Jay White. Jay White ended up saying that the answer is no. So MJF started running down Jay White, and MJF was talking about how much the crowd loves him. He ended up saying that he cares about two things. He cares about his friend, Adam Cole, and also the AEW World Championship. He wanted to say that Jay White is definitely a top-level talent and someone who will one day join the club of being a world champion. But MJF ended up saying that day is not today. He ended up telling Jay White to give the world championship back and show some dignity, not for him, but for the sport and for the sake of the world championship itself. So Jay White started mocking MJF for all this. Jay White ended up saying that he too has to earn the world championship by facing him at Full Gear for it. He ended up saying that if he's not patient, he can come grab the championship now, but the odds are not in his favor. So Jay White ended up saying that MJF doesn't have enough friends to take on Bullet Club Gold. He ended up telling MJF to find 3 friends to help him out. So Juice Robinson ended up announcing that there's going to be a battle royal next week on Dynamite for the Dynamite Diamond Ring. So there we go. We're getting a battle royal next week on Dynamite. So Juice Robinson ended up saying that he's got a roll of quarters with MJF's name on it. So he ended up showing the roll of quarters. He ended up saying that he's going to break MJF's jaw. So MJF ended up saying that if Juice Robinson comes near him with the quarters, he'll kill him. So Jay White ended up saying, guns up, as Bullet Club Gold ended up leaving the ring. So pretty much that was basically that. So we're going to begin Jay White versus MJF at Full Gear. There should be a good match between Jay White and MJF. And then as Dynamite went to commercial, we got Act 2 of Tony Storm's Lovers Lamont. So that played during the picture-in-picture. And then as Dynamite came back from the commercial, we had Saraya versus Hikaru Shida for the Women's World Championship. And this was a solid match here. Hikaru Shida ended up coming out first, and then Saraya, the AEW Women's World Champion, ended up heading out. So we had the match end up getting underway. We had Hikaru Shida end up charging Saraya, and Saraya ended up fighting back and cornered Shida. So both Shida and Saraya were trading blows in the corner. Saraya ended up mounting some punches to Shida, but Shida ended up delivering an enziguri to Saraya. Saraya ended up retreating from the ring. So both women end up pummeling each other. Shida ended up regaining control and ended up dropping Saraya with a rack slam. Shida then ended up hitting a running knee to Saraya. Shida ended up lifting Saraya, ended up dropping her down to the canvas. Saraya ended up escaping to the apron, and Shida ended up laying a kick to Saraya's head. So Shida was stopped by someone in disguise looking to use the spray paint. Shida then revealed that it's Ruby Soho. And we had Shida end up spraying the spray paint in Ruby Soho's face. Soho ended up trying to retaliate, but she was met with a shoe to the back by Tony Storm. So Tony Storm ended up laying it to Ruby Soho with the shoes. So they went into the crowd, Ruby Soho and Tony Storm. Saraya ended up going after Hikaru Shida, and then Dynamite went to commercial. Then when Dynamite came back from the commercial, Hikaru Shida was in control of the match. She ended up delivering a right hand to Saraya. Saraya then ended up coming back, ended up hitting a toe kick to get back on top. So Shida ended up delivering a knee strike to Saraya, and Saraya ended up escaping. Shida ended up delivering a missile drop kick to Saraya. So Saraya started to fight back, and she was looking to go for a suplex off the top turnbuckle, and she ended up pulling Shida out to the floor instead. Saraya started shouting at the ref, but she ended up getting caught by Shida, and Shida ended up hitting a German suplex to Saraya that dropped Saraya to the apron. So Shida ended up hitting a Meteor to the outside on Saraya. She ended up bringing Saraya back to the ring. She ended up delivering a run knee strike to Saraya. So Shida ended up going for the cover, and Saraya ended up kicking out. So we had later on Saraya ended up grabbing a kendo stick and also the spray paint. The ref ended up catching Saraya with the kendo stick, and the ref took that away, and the ref didn't even see the spray paint. So Saraya used the spray paint on Shida. She ended up going for the cover, and Shida ended up kicking out. So Shida then ended up hitting the Falcon Arrow on Saraya. So Shida ended up going for the cover. Saraya ended up reversing the pin. Shida ended up going for the cover on Saraya, which Saraya ended up reversing. Shida ended up reversing the pin another time, And this time with the pin, she ended up keeping Saraya down. So there you go. Hikaru Shida ended up winning the match, and she is now a 3-time AEW Women's World Champion. So we had, confetti end up shooting out. And then pretty much that was that. But overall, solid women's match here between Hikaru Shida and Saraya. So really happy that Hikaru Shida is a 3-time Women's World Champion. So Tony Schiavone on commentary here end up saying that Chris Jericho was being checked on at a local hospital because of the injuries, courtesy of Powerhouse Will Hobbs earlier in the night. And we also got an announcement. Tony Khan was supposed to make this announcement, but he ended up letting them on commentary, make the announcement. And the announcement was about AEW figures being donated to charity for Toys for Tots this Christmas. So that's good. At least it's for a cause. But that was the announcement. And then we went backstage. Don Callis ended up getting mad for not getting 10 minutes to speak his mind. But he promises that he has a backup plan. He ended up pulling a Sammy Guevara with some signs, and then Dynamite, went to commercial. And then as Dynamite came back from the commercial, Renee Paquette was with MJF. She was trying to talk to MJF about what happened earlier. But MJF ended up telling Renee all he wants to do is call his boy, Adam Cole. So MJF got on the phone with Adam Cole. Adam Cole picked up, and we can barely hear Adam Cole because he was still at Roderick Strong's house. His bed reception, right probably at Roderick Strong's house. So he was trying to talk to Adam Cole, but of course lost him because of the bad reception. So then the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn end up coming over to MJF. Max Caster ended up offering to help MJF against Bullet Club Gold. But MJF ended up storming off, and Billy Gunn ended up asking why Caster is being so friendly with MJF. Caster ended up talking about the two coming up in the business. He ended up joking about MJF playing hard to get, which just annoys his friends. So pretty much that was basically that. Caster was like, oh, maybe MJF, needs help. That was that. And then we had Christian Cage end up coming out. Christian Cage made his way out along with Luchasaurus. Christian Cage had a mic in hand, and Christian Cage ended up telling Kansas City they should be honored to have a champion they can be proud of, because unlike the Kansas City Chiefs, he doesn't need any extra help to win. So Christian Cage then ended up addressing what happened last week and what Adam Copeland said about Luchasaurus and Nick Wayne turned on him. Christian ended up saying that despite their similar experiences, he didn't dress these men up like it's Halloween and try to convince them they're tough. He ended up saying that he doesn't try to be their leader because he is not their leader. He is their father. So Christian Cage, Father of the Year to Luchasaurus and Nick Wayne. So Christian Cage then ended up addressing Adam Copeland, wanting to get a tag team back together, between them. Wanted to know where those aspirations were a few years ago. He ended up saying Copeland was being pushed to the moon, while Christian was being deliberately held back. Christian ended up saying that Copeland needs him for this tag team. But Christian ended up saying that he does not need Copeland. So Christian ended up starting telling Copeland's wife, Beth Phoenix, and their daughters to get ready for their new father to come home, which that brought Copeland out. Copeland ended up running down the ramp, and we had Nick Wayne end up tripping Copeland up as Luchasaurus ended up taking Copeland down, which forced Copeland to head to the corner to recover. So this was the main event now, Adam Copeland versus Luchasaurus. Adam Copeland's debut match in AEW. And this was a good match here. So Copeland ended up telling the ref to call for the bell. The match got underway. Luchasaurus ended up charging at Copeland in the corner with a splash. Luchasaurus was wearing Copeland down. Luchasaurus ended up dropping Copeland with the tombstone pile driver. Luchasaurus thinking that he's the Undertaker. So Luchasaurus ended up going for the cover. Copeland ended up kicking out, getting his shoulder up. And pretty much basically Luchasaurus was just manhandling Copeland through the match. So Copeland didn't pick up the pace until after the picture-in-picture, after the commercial. So this was all Luchasaurus here. Luchasaurus ended up going back on the attack on Copeland. He brought Copeland back to his feet. And Luchasaurus ended up standing Copeland up. He ended up sending Copeland into the corner. He pulled him back to his feet and delivered a body slam. So Luchasaurus ended up rocking Copeland with a right hand. Copeland came back and delivered a right hand to Luchasaurus. He ended up sending Luchasaurus into the corner. Copeland started to fight back, but this angered Luchasaurus as Luchasaurus started pounding away again on Copeland. Luchasaurus ended up hitting a massive vertical suplex to Copeland. And pretty much Christian Cage was sitting on stage watching the match. So Luchasaurus ended up getting in some hard shots on Copeland. He ended up slamming Copeland face first to the canvas. Copeland ended up back on his feet. And we had Copeland ended up sending Luchasaurus out of the ring. And then, as Dynamite came back from the commercial, Copeland ended up out of the ring. Nick Wayne ended up sending Copeland into the barricade. Luchasaurus ended up sending up the ring steps at ringside. Copeland ended up getting back to the ring. Luchasaurus was looking to go for a chokeslam from the apron to Copeland, but Copeland fought back. And Copeland ended up hitting Luchasaurus with a diving DDT off the apron. Luchasaurus ended up getting back in the ring. Copeland headed to the top turnbuckle. He delivered a crossbody from behind to keep Luchasaurus down. Copeland started delivering some strikes to Luchasaurus, but Luchasaurus ended up delivering a shoulder tackle to Copeland. And we had Luchasaurus end up going for a choke slam, but Copeland reversed that. Copeland ended up delivering the Impaler to Luchasaurus. Copeland ended up going for the cover, and Luchasaurus ended up kicking out. So we had Copeland ended up going back up to the top. Luchasaurus was back on his feet. He ended up kicking Copeland off with a big boot. Copeland was on the apron still, and Luchasaurus ended up looking to send Copeland into the ring steps with a suplex, but Copeland ended up fighting out of that. Copeland started delivering some punches to Luchasaurus on the top, and Copeland ended up hitting a superplex off the top, sending him and Luchasaurus down to the canvas. Nice looking superplex from Copeland. Copeland slowly started to sit up, and Christian Cage ended up getting to ringside to intervene. Nick Wayne ended up setting up a chair in the corner. Copeland ended up going for a spear to Luchasaurus. Luchasaurus ended up leapfrogging over Copeland. Copeland ended up running into the chair. So Luchasaurus delivered a choke slam to Copeland. Luchasaurus ended up going for the cover, and Copeland ended up kicking out. So Copeland ended up fighting Luchasaurus on the apron. He ended up going to the ropes. Luchasaurus ended up catching Copeland, and Copeland ended up dropping Luchasaurus down to the apron. Luchasaurus ended up getting back to his feet, but he ended up getting caught with a spear by Copeland off the ring steps. So both Luchasaurus and Copeland were down on the outside. Copeland slowly got to his feet. He ended up bringing Luchasaurus back into the ring. Copeland was looking to go for another spear, but Nick Wayne ended up intervening as Christian Cage tried to nail Copeland with the TNT Championship. But Copeland grabbed the TNT Championship while the ref was distracted with Nick Wayne. And Copeland ended up hitting Luchasaurus with the TNT Championship instead. Copeland then tossed the TNT Championship back to Christian Cage, and the ref turned around and saw Christian Cage with the TNT Championship. And the ref was asking Christian if he just hit Luchasaurus with the TNT Championship, while Copeland headed to the corner. So Luchasaurus stared at Christian, wondering the same thing, if Christian ended up hitting Luchasaurus with the TNT Championship. So we had Luchasaurus turn around, and Copeland speared Luchasaurus. Copeland ended up going for the cover, and there you go. Adam Copeland ended up winning the match, winning his first match in AEW. So post-match, Nick Wayne took Copeland down. This led to a beatdown on Copeland. Bryan Danielson ended up running down to make the save. He ended up going after Nick Wayne, Luchasaurus, and Christian Cage. And then he focused on Christian Cage, who he's going to be facing Saturday on Collision for the TNT Championship. And then we had the Blackpool Combat Club. We had Claudio Castagnoli and Wheeler Yuta end up coming out. And then the Mogul Embassy came out. We had the Gates of Agony. And this brought out Hangman and Page. Hangman and Page ended up going after Swerve Strickland, who was also out there. Bryan Danielson ended up locking in the label lock on Christian Cage, which forced Christian Cage to tap out. And I'm like, oh, is this a possible sign of what's going to come at Collision this Saturday? Maybe. But Dynamite, ended here. But overall, good match between Adam Copeland and Luchasaurus here. It took some time for Copeland to gain some momentum in the match because it was all Luchasaurus, the first half of the match. But good match it was. And the chaos that happened after the match was, pretty good as well. But overall, Dynamite, very good show tonight. But anyways, that's it for the Dynamite review. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review. Definitely give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe. There will be no SmackDown and AEW Rampage review on Friday because I'll be at Comic-Con for all 4 days. We'll be doing a Comic-Con vlog. So stay tuned for that. But until the next video, I'll see you all later.